Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Gerald here with your weather forecast. Hope we're all having a wonderful weekend as we begin to wrap this week up. And let me tell you, as we get into this coming week, we're going to have some March Madness on the way for a lot of Americans, and millions of Americans likely seeing blizzard conditions going into Tuesday and Wednesday. So, of course, we're going to break that down for you in today's video. But if you are new here, welcome aboard. My name is Gerald. I'm a meteorology major at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And as you'll see throughout this channel, it's a channel about weather. So if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. And I'll tell you guys something. We did really great on the last video that I posted on Friday. Got almost 20,000 views on that one, and we gained a lot of subscribers. So welcome aboard to everyone that is new. And let me know where you're watching from, because I'm sure obviously we've gained a lot of new subscribers, likely from New England and through the Northeast with this storm. But definitely, if you're even not from that area, let me know where you're watching from. Always love to interact with you guys in the comments. But with all that said, let's go ahead and get right into it, because, of course, we do have a lot of very interesting weather on the way. So starting off here, looking at those current conditions, we had some rain and even some snow actually move through the southeast this morning through sections of North Carolina here, north of Charlotte, around Winston-Salem, Greensboro, up through the Raleigh area. Actually saw some snow this morning with some sleet as well. That has since kind of begun to move off, but we've also been dealing with some severe storms today through kind of southern Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, and southern Alabama. And, we've definitely seen some dangerous storms out that way. Up further into the northern part of the country here, we have some snow showers moving through much of the Great Lakes region, and this eventually combining with this southern piece of energy are going to phase together and create quite the blizzard that is going to move up the East Coast. And you'll see that here in a minute whenever we look at our models. Taking a look at satellite, though, you can see this again, a pretty well-defined spin up here into the northern tier of the country. That combined with the showery activity and the storms down to the south, as I just talked about, are going to phase together and get that big snow we've been talking about for the Northeast. But another way, or just another thing to take away from this map is just how cloudy and dreary it has been on this Sunday. And definitely not the kind of Sunday that you might want to see if you were hoping for some nice weather. Taking a look at those hazards out there, we actually have some frost advisories up here through Tennessee, northern Alabama, Georgia for that cold weather that's going to move in after this current system begins to push out. We also have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up here into northern Wisconsin and much of Minnesota. And then, of course, up here into the Northeast, we have winter storm watches already into effect, and that means that we're getting close, everybody, to this storm making its way in. So these winter storm watches stretch for just about all of southern and central New Hampshire, Vermont, much of the state of New York, extreme northeastern Pennsylvania, extreme northern New Jersey, and then much of Massachusetts, as well as Connecticut and Rhode Island also seeing these watches. And a lot of these will be expanded and even upgraded to winter storm warnings through the next couple of days. So taking a quick look at tonight's temperatures, that freezing line looks to stay relatively far north tonight. So much of the Midwest, the northern Great Plains getting well below freezing tonight. But overall, staying into the kind of 30s and 40s through much of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. Then, of course, warmer temperatures along the Gulf Coast. And then also getting pretty cold up here into New England tonight. Looking at tomorrow's weather, pretty nice day here along the south, especially into and around the Gulf Coast. But definitely a pretty cold day up here into kind of the northern plains, and then kind of in between. So of course, fine, we live in this map, the number you see, that's your expected high temperature tomorrow. So now getting into kind of this big system. First, let me kind of walk you through what's left with this rain in the south and this kind of snow up into the Great Lakes, and then we'll really dive into this nor'easter and blizzard on the way. So throughout the day today, these showers that have been moving through the southeast are going to continue to push off the coast, and the snow up here through the Great Lakes are going to continue to push through that region. So you'll see as we go through today, we begin to clear out going into tonight along the southeast coastline, and by the time we get into about the midnight kind of time frame, all that's really going to be left is some light snow showers up here through the Great Lakes and some snow showers through the Northeast from places of Pennsylvania up through New York State, and then of course some light rain here along the Atlantic Gulf Coast, the Atlantic coast here, kind of from New Jersey down towards the Outer Banks. Now, as we get into tomorrow, that's when things are really going to begin to ramp up, especially later tomorrow. So I think throughout the day tomorrow, these kind of scattered light snow showers and rain showers are going to be pretty common here through much of the Northeast, from really Philly all the way up through Albany, New York. So definitely snow in kind of these further north places, but along the coast, I expect mainly just some light rain showers and cloudy conditions tomorrow. Now, as we get into tomorrow night, is whenever the storm looks to really intensify and then begin to impact the Northeast, and that will last for a while. So I'm going to show this to you on a more regional scale now. Just want to give you kind of the broad picture there on how this is going to set up. But again, starting where we left off here, going into Monday evening, you can see here I do expect some pretty widespread snow here for much of New York State, probably western Mass, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, although likely still rain here for much of the I-95 corridor. Now, as we go into the overnight Monday, we're going to get this changeover. So what's going to happen is we're going to crash the column and get some of that rain to change over to very heavy wet snow, and this is also when the wind is going to pick up going into Monday night. So I think Monday night we'll begin to see that rain-snow line begin to creep down south towards the coastline. So I think for much of Monday night, it's likely rain for a place like New York City, Providence, Rhode Island, even Boston, but we're quickly changing over to a very heavy wet snow places further inland here in kind of this circled area, back into western Mass, southern New York State, northern New Jersey, maybe seeing some of that snow there. But as we go into Tuesday afternoon, you're going to see this continues to be a very heavy wet snow for those places. But as we go through the day Tuesday, this rain-snow line is going to try to crash further south as this low pressure kind of brings in a bit of colder air behind it. So we could get a change over to snow here into Boston, New York City, and places in between along the I-95 corridor, maybe as far south as Philadelphia. I think the big problem in Philadelphia is just a lack of precipitation with this thing, so there's going to be a lot more potential precipitation to work with to kind of get that snow to fall with places further up north into Massachusetts. But nonetheless, snow really has a chance of falling from, I'd say, Philly all the way up through Maine along the I-95 corridor. As we continue to move this ahead in time, really going into Tuesday afternoon and evening is whenever I think we get that change over to very heavy wet snow for just about everyone here into Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. But definitely here along coastal areas of Massachusetts and Maine during Tuesday night looks to really be the bullseye for the heavy snow at that point in time, with lighter snow, of course, like I talked about down here from Philly through Trenton, New Jersey, New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, those places. But either way, we have a 970-something millibar low sitting off the coast here. So even if this wasn't snow, it's going to be blinding rain. We're going to have the winds absolutely whipping. Coastal flooding is going to be a problem here, especially kind of along this general area here from Boston north through Maine, where, you know, the water kind of piles up a little bit easier just because of the shape of the coastline there. We're going to have coastal flooding issues, definitely a ton of wind, super heavy snow here, as we've been talking about, of course. And then this is going to continue through the night Tuesday, so a lot of places you're going to start snowing kind of Monday night, Tuesday morning, and that's going to last all day Tuesday into Tuesday night before the precipitation begins to finally wind down overnight Tuesday as this low pressure begins to pull away. But what I will kind of add here is no matter what, this low pressure is still going to be very strong. You're going to be getting a ton of wind. So even when the snow stops falling, it's still going to be blowing around because of this low pressure sitting off the coast through much of the day Wednesday before it finally pulls away going into Wednesday night and we clear out from this kind of big time snowstorm. So that's the Euro model I just showed you. I'll show you the GFS. I'll kind of breeze through this one a bit quicker just because they kind of show a similar story. So same general thinking. Once we go into Monday night, Tuesday, we get this very heavy wet snow into inland, kind of interior sections of the Northeast. But as we go through the day, Tuesday, we get that change over to very heavy snow into some more of these coastal regions, into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and definitely Eastern Mass, as we've been talking about. I think there's a bit of a bullseye showing up on the models here in this general circled area here throughout Tuesday afternoon with some of that heavy snow falling, and then the GFS here continues that through Tuesday evening, and you've just really got an all-out blizzard here for coastal New England, from really Long Island all the way up through Maine, and then that continues through Wednesday morning before once again finally clearing out throughout the day Wednesday, although still very windy conditions with maybe some back-end light snow. So those are our two main kind of global models. I'm going to show you the NAM now. Now, this is our North American model, and the NAM, I will tell you, kind of whenever it's this far out, is a little unreliable, but I do want to show it to you because it is still a very plausible scenario that we could see with this storm system. So again, a similar idea here with getting some of that heavy snow through these interior sections of New England overnight Monday. Then as we go into Tuesday, the NAM here kind of brings the bullseye a bit further south and east into a place like New York City. Now, I wouldn't put too much stock into this just because both of our other models kind of show that bullseye more here into eastern Mass, into the coastal areas there, but the NAM here shows a very strong low pressure with blizzard conditions right along the I-95 corridor from Philly all the way up through Boston, seeing that very heavy wet snow throughout the day Tuesday, and that continues here on the NAM model, and then just continues to crank up throughout the kind of Tuesday night into Wednesday morning through coastal areas of Massachusetts and Maine before once again kind of clearing out by the time we get into Wednesday, and definitely by the time we get into Thursday. So talking about snow totals, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the mean of some of our different ensembles. So we'll start with the European model here, and you'll see kind of the bullseye here over southern New York State through western Mass, having the highest chances of seeing those big time totals. But a place like New York City, it's a really tough forecast just because with some of these kind of coastal areas, it's such a small deviation within the models from places a little bit inland and places by the coastline. But with the Euro model here, shows a pretty big area of 12 to 18 inches of snow here in kind of that circled area, with places more along the I-95 corridor, looking at about half a foot from kind of northern New York City, I'd say, up through Boston. So that's the Euro ensembles. Taking a look at the GFS ensembles, bit similar, although it shows kind of that bullseye a little bit further south and shows a bit more snow here along the I-95 corridor from New York City up through Boston. So overall, a similar bullseye, but definitely some differences here kind of in the New York City area between the two models. But kind of the best way to look at this, I think, is our National Weather Service blend of models. And looking at that here, you can see kind of a bit of a better way to look at this, with still a bullseye here over southern New York State, but definitely some elevation-driven bullseyes here kind of through Vermont, western Massachusetts, and up through New Hampshire. And then a place like New York City with this, not really much at all. Same story down towards Philly. So I think that's probably the best way to look at it right now, just because I think the Euro and the GFS kind of agree with this a little bit more. I think it's more likely we see a bullseye kind of in this area of the Northeast compared to kind of the Philadelphia and New York parts of the Northeast. So taking a look at wind gusts now, because this, of course, will be another big part of this. You can see these really begin to ramp up Tuesday afternoon with widespread wind gusts getting past 40, even 50 miles an hour in some places here through much of New England, and these windy conditions will continue through Tuesday night and going into Wednesday morning. With some of these places kind of into coastal Massachusetts, I wouldn't be surprised to see hurricane force wind gusts here, maybe along the Cape through Nantucket, those kind of general areas. But inland, still 30 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts widespread through much of New England. So we're going to have plenty of power outage problems. Also because it's going to be a heavy wet snow, it's not going to be a powdery snow. So all of that combined will definitely cause power outage problems. But luckily, the wind should begin to calm down as we get into Thursday. So I think Tuesday and Wednesday are definitely going to be the windiest days of this storm. But in terms of snow, Tuesday will kind of be the biggest day with the kind of snow part of the storm, with the wind continuing into Wednesday. So after this, we kind of calm down a little bit, but colder air settles in through much of this week, and then we get another big time storm system, it looks like, going into later this week that looks to impact the central part of the country. And behind this one, I think we've got some crazy cold air on the way. So to show that to you here with our models showing you those temperatures, you can see after this first storm, we definitely have some colder air settling in on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you can see that with these definitely definitely dark blues and purple showing up on the map, indicating colder than average weather on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we might kind of rebound a little bit going on later into the week, but behind that storm system, we get even colder air to settle in by next weekend, and this looks to be more widespread, with just about all of the lower 48 well below average for this time of the year. So we're seeing places getting close to 30 degrees below average in parts of the country with this second shot of cold air. So kind of the big takeaway here is we got a big nor'easter to worry about to start this week, then a big cool down, and then by the time we get into this weekend, an even bigger cool down. So that's why I put March Madness in the thumbnail, because there's a lot going on this week, and it's going to be very active with this cold air as well as some of the snow, and then even another storm system later on this week. So with all that said, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like. And again, let me know where you're watching from. Always love to see that. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.